Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:01 Central Times, and this is a call for hospice and home health support throughout Louisiana and Mississippi with regards to emergency preparedness. And today we are going to be focused in on Louisiana's region number 3, which is Lafourche, St. John, St. Charles, St. James, St. Mary's, Assumption, and Terrebonne parishes. And I want to say the information that we're going to be sharing today is not just if your agency is located inside of those parishes, but whether or not you're servicing patients in those parishes. So we're going to be talking all about Region 3 today. I want to remind everyone that this session is being recorded and that we record all of the sessions with regards to the different regions, and I will be posting those on our website so that you can always go back and refresh your memory as to what was said at each one of these for each one of these regions, because everybody, every region, every district, every parish, every county handles emergency preparedness just a little differently. And it's important if you have patients in that parish, in that county, in that region, in that district, that you understand what is expected of your agency as well as of patients. So just to give a big picture of Region 3, we have almost 300,000 people that live in Region 3. And you might notice about 67,000 of those folks are on Medicare, meaning that they're at least 65 years of age or older. Last year, we had about 1,700 patients that were placed on hospice. And when we're talking about hospice, I don't have home health statistics, but home health patients make probably 3 to 4 times more than hospice patients. So we're talking about a large group of folks that are being cared for by either home health or hospice each year. We know in hospice that almost 1,300 patients die in Region 3 each year. So roughly about 650 of those are going to die during the hurricane season, the 6-month hurricane season. And we want to make sure that patients, especially during hurricane season, are being cared for and that their care is uninterrupted as much as possible, especially in times of an emergency declaration. Most hospice patients are on hospice in the region on average for about 30 days. So it's not a very long period of time at all that patients are on service with hospice. Having said that, I went into the report as of last Friday that was sent out. And we have about, out of those 6,000 patients between hospice and home care and hospice and home care patients we're talking about 238 or have been identified as would need assistance in the event of some sort of emergency. That's 238 as of last Friday afternoon when that last report was issued to emergency managers. And this is the breakdown by parish. And I know that the reports last week had a much lower number, but I've done some work. I've called a lot of the hospices that forgot to update those patients and got those patients updated, and that's why the number has risen to 238 out of, like I said, out of about 6,000 home care patients in Region 3. In terms of home health and hospice, Lori Gallagher is the point person for home care. So if you have issues before or during or after an emergency declaration has been called, your point person is going to be Lori. And Lori, I think you're on today's call, right?
That's right. I'm here if anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Lori. And that's Lori's email address right there. And Lori, you going to be presenting a little bit later on?
I'll be available to talk, but I think Kim and Liz are going to be speaking today.
Very good. But Lori has taken the role of designated regional coordinator for home health and hospice agency. So that's your point person in Region 3 to direct all of your any patient related issues that you're going to have during an emergency should go through Lori, and then Lori will bring those concerns or those issues to the emergency managers in that region, in Region 3. Any questions from anyone so far? Okay, we're going to go on then. So this is Region 3, and when we talk about the emergency managers for Region 3, I have your list right here for all of your Region 3, and I know a lot of folks that service Region 3 also may service patients in Region 1 or Region 4, so I've included contact numbers for those regional managers as well in this particular slide. And this was the social media page that Region 3 provided me last year in terms of alert systems. And so we advise everybody that's working in home care to make sure that your smartphone is registered with these alert systems so that you're getting the latest information from each of the parish leaders in Region 3. We also highly suggest that you help your patients get connected to these alert systems in their respective parishes. So, a lot of your patients may not understand how to do that, and this may be a good task for some of your volunteers or some of your high school students that may be volunteering with your agency to go and help your patients sign up for these emergency alert systems for the various parishes. We send out reports to emergency managers every Friday, and so we send out a reminder to all of the agencies that are using the at-risk registry to do the update on Thursday before the close of business so that the reports we send out on Friday morning are as accurate as possible. There was some confusion. There was some folks that didn't realize in using the at-risk registry that home health as well as hospices have to do that weekly update. Patient situations change. Patients are discharged on a regular basis. As I said earlier, in the case of hospice, most hospice patients are only on service for about 31 days in Region 3. And so it's really important that we make sure that we're sending only the names of those patients who are still alive, still on service, and still in need of assistance to the emergency managers each week. And we want to do that. We want to do that now so that emergency managers have time to plan, especially for the peak of this hurricane season. So it's important that you do this on a weekly basis and not skip weeks. In the registry, for Region 3, there were 12 patients in Region 3 that did not have a parish assignment, and therefore their names were not being included on anyone's list. So I want to remind the at-risk registry users, make sure you're assigning the patient to the correct parish in which they reside. There's one patient in the registry currently in Region 3 who does not have a zip code. They forgot to include the zip code, and the zip code is important, especially with when sending first responders, because all of that's geosynced, and we want to make sure that they have an accurate reading on where the patient is located. I also want to remind everyone that in terms of the date of birth field, it's a little, it looks a little strange, but it is all those zeros. It's for the year first, that followed by the month, followed by the day. So um, those are some little caveats in terms of the at-risk registry. This is the copy of the reminder that we send out each week. If you're not receiving a reminder about updating the at-risk registry, you can contact me either at 888-546-1500, extension 7, or drop me a line, jboudreau@lmhpco.org, and I'll be more than happy to put you into the database so that you too can receive a reminder on Thursdays. And finally, I have some resources that Allison Hughes in Region 2 provided in terms of helping you and your patients get ready for this hurricane season. These are very helpful. All of these slides I will be turning into a PDF and putting in the calendar for next week's meeting. So immediately I'll be doing that after we finish today's session, and I get the recorded transferred to YouTube. So you'll have all of this information that you can share with your agency's staff so that they're aware of what the plan is for Region 3. Are there any questions from anyone so far? That's any providers? I want to remind everyone that next week, next week session, we will be focused on Region 1 and 9, which is Metropolitan New Orleans. If there are no questions for me, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I'm going to allow, who is it, Kim?
It's all of us,
Yeah.
basically.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking over now.
Of course, so y'all can see the slides. It says
Yes, ma'am, we
2025.
can.
All right,
Yes,
then
ma'am.
we are up and running. So in the room with me today, as you know, I was your ADRC for about 18 years, but we do have your very new ADRC with us today, Liz Lacey.
Hello.
We have the clinical advisor for Region 3, Miss Kathleen Robinson.
Hello.
And our FERC, Charles Canan.
Afternoon.
And Lori's on the line with us at the moment. So if y'all have any questions for her, she is also on the line. Oh, and I'm now your GoSep rep. So I just moved into Pam and Ashley's little spot. So Mr. Jimmy with St. Mary is still very much a part of Region 3 under the LDH umbrella, but he will follow on the slides for Region 4 for the GoSep. But all of his information is relevant, and he will speak at the end of this just to give you guys a quick update on the Highway 90 situation, because it might be getting a little bit better and it might be getting a little bit worse. So to kick off on our Region 3, this is the new Region 3 GoSep contacts. We will get you the whole ADRC structure with the DRCs probably within a week or two. But none of the social media slides have changed. We went to a St. James meeting earlier today where they had a boil water advisory. And a lot of people that were on that street were like, we didn't know. You do have to sign up for those alerts, and you do have to put in your address. It's not going to sit there and drive you crazy for every incident in the parish. If it's just a boil water advisory, it's just going to let those people in that boil water advisory know. So the more words you can get out about registering and putting in your correct address on those social media sites will help you out tremendously, whether they're using the reverse 911 system or the iPause system. Please push that for the, especially the homebound with no transportation. Please push that information out to them, because we would want them to know. We do review your reports every single Friday. All 6 of the parishes do. By the numbers in the portal, we had about 53 residents that they need assistance, but they weren't really clear as to what they needed assistance for. And those are the agencies that you can reach out to us, or we can reach out back to you. But we are going to need a little bit more information as to like what kind of assistance is needed, because it's very different if we could throw 53 people on a bus versus if we need 53 ambulances or 53 paratransit units. So if we could get some additional information from those providers, any issues, Liz, me, Lori will help you get that information in the portal. Just let us know. Also, there was 100.
Kim, let me just ask you. So you were identifying 53 patients that they forgot, the agency forgot to list what type of transportation they would need in order.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Correct. No, that was just what kind of assistance was needed.
Right.
This is the needing
Mhm.
assistance. It was
Yes,
just
ma'am.
blank. These are the ones for the transportation that was 112. That
Right.
it was just left blank. So we kind of need a little bit more information on those as
Excellent.
well. Like, what are we looking at? Especially like when you're looking through the data, there are a lot of them that a person has to go with them or a pet has to go with them. If those numbers are quadrupled or doubled, that's big numbers that need to go into our planning numbers at the parish level. And we'll continue to monitor that, share it with Liz and Lacey every week, Liz and Lori every week. But these are the agencies that we're looking to get in touch with. Anybody from Egan Oshner, we would love for them to reach back out to us because we have been looking for them probably since we did this last year. It would be beneficial.
And I will tell you, I got in touch with a lot of these agencies yesterday before today's call to get them to do the update because there was some confusion as to how to do the update. So some of that information may have been corrected as of yesterday.
And we will really, like, this is the time of our year, so we are gonna be really reviewing these reports on Fridays, really digging into the data. Because, just everything's smaller now, everything is not as readily available, there's not as many ambulances, there's not as much, RTA transportation buses. So we are really looking at your data at a parish level every single week. So
Thank you.
please, let us help you with that. These are the trainings that we have in Region 3 for the 2025 year. It was 2025 was a big cyber year for us. We had kind of identified that on our HBA. If you're just needing some general training in 1, 2, 7, and 8, those are now, still available. 3 and 4, we have coming back to the region. The community training exercises were already completed. And the follow-up from that was the cybersecurity, which we're going to be hosting in October. And additionally, in October, for any new emergency managers, is that risk assessment class to help them identify their own risk. It will help everybody get better at their HVAs. And we're hoping a lot of people sign up for that. Everything we do now as a region, we are going through STEMS for, so that it will keep a transcript. So if you took 100, 200, 700, and 800 back in 2008 with the rest of us, you just need to get your little copy of your transcript from FEMA. You can upload it and you can register for any class you need to register for. Again, we are available if you need help with any of those things.
Kim, are
And
all of those sessions being held at in Thibodeau at Nichols, or you have
No,
various
let me see. Let me
locations?
go look down this list. So Convent has a mass casualty. Thibodeau has a mass casualty. What is that, Hornville?
Yeah,
It is
I was
Hornville.
thinking more about your the hazard completing the assessment tools.
Oh, that isn't Homa, correct? Yeah, that's in Homa.
Home, and
Right.
do you know where in Homa?
Is it the TOSEP Building 101 Government Street in Gray?
Okay, great, thank you. That's I think a lot of agencies would benefit from attending, particularly that that session.
The more the merrier. You do not even have to be in Region 3 to attend these trainings. But of course, they're open to Region 3 providers first.
Yes, ma'am.
But you do not have to be in Region 3. This year, we used to walk around or run around and give everybody these little green books. We no longer do that, but if you scan this code, it will bring you to the book online. If you need copies, like you get to a patient's house and they just really, really wanted a copy of the book, let us know. We can get you one printed pretty quickly in one of the GOSEP offices over here. But mainly a lot of things are coming off of print and going online for your, number one, so you can easily access it too. And number two, just a lot of less waste. And that is the end of my GOSEP presentation. But if y'all have any questions for me and GOSEP, I'm here to answer. And I'm gonna change it over to Charles.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Charles Canan. I am Region 3's Public Health Emergency Response Coordinator. And my slide deck's opening with the map of the LDH regions, just to reinforce that St. Mary is included in Region 3 for us, but not in GOSEP's Region 3 coverage area. In total, we cover Assumption, Lafourche, St. Charles, St. James, St. John the Baptist, St. Mary, and Terrebonne parishes. We're in a location that during hurricane season unfortunately takes direct hits from the tropical storms. During these instances, our goal is to move individuals and populations to safety. Regionally, we are led by Dr. Eric Brooks, our Regional Medical Director, and Regional Administrator Kayla Guerrero. We also have Kathy Robinson as our Hospital Nurse Coordinator and Andy Sheffield as our Emergency Preparedness Team. During hurricane response, OPH's primary focus is on providing safe refuge for residents with medical needs. To accomplish this, we ensure proper shelter placement through triaging and assist with evacuations for those accepted into the medical needs shelters. And please note the picture here, the comfortability in the medical needs shelters. These are safe shelter locations, and their primary purpose is to provide a safe space. We have our ideal timeline has the Surgeon General, who replaces the State Health Officer responsible for activating medical needs shelter contracts 108 hours out. Our triage lines open at 84 hours pre-storm, flurry of activity at 72 hours, where the medical needs shelters and transportation cells are activated. Once the call has been made to open our regional triage lines, the state will advertise those telephone numbers on radio, TV media, as well as 211. Residents can call our regional triage lines and speak to a public health nurse who will provide a list of questions to determine medical eligibility. Those that do not meet criteria for medical needs sheltering may be referred to general population shelters or critical transportation needs shelters. All residents needing medical needs shelter placement will need to complete the triage process to ensure that they meet criteria. Reminder, the medical needs shelters are meant for those residents with medical needs, but not ill enough to require hospital admission. Those accepted into the medical needs shelter and requiring ambulance transportation will be referred to the regional EMS DRC to initiate that ambulance transport. And those who can ride in a bus or a paratransit vehicle will be referred to the parish emergency managers, who will pick up residents at their houses in Region 3 with parish buses. Note, though, that St. Charles Parish is an outlier, and they'll handle their triaging for St. Charles residents themselves. Finally, those utilizing bus or paratransit may be sent to Bus Farm in Baton Rouge first to be taken off of the parish buses, replaced on state buses, where they could complete that transportation, and those parish resources could return to the region. Our left image here includes our triage phone numbers that should be used any time of the year. Residents can call Office of Public Health or the applicable parish Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness to be put on a list. If an evacuation is called, we will contact these residents to ensure they have transportation and safe refuge. The right image notes all regional telephone lines that will be utilized throughout the state in the different regions as well. We're including the criteria for placement in the medical needs shelter. A brief description of that criteria. Persons requiring assistance with medical care, monitoring by a nurse, those that are equipment dependent, requiring assistance with medication administration, or with mental health disorders meet the medical needs shelter criteria. On the right, we have the specialty categories of how we try to split those patients up inside the medical needs shelters themselves. All medical needs shelter locations in Louisiana are identified here. Note the mega shelter in Alexandria is kept in a state of operational readiness and is usually the first to open. Following the mega shelter, additional shelter space could potentially open in Region 2, Baton Rouge, Region 7, Shreveport, Region 8, Monroe. In Region 3, we have 2 prospective medical needs shelter locations at the Assumption Community Center in Napoleonville, as well as Betsy Sheremy IO Hall at Nicholls State University. That building at Nicholls State University IO Hall is their nursing building. And they do currently have construction present at the site as they are enlarging the building to increase the size of the nursing program at Nicholas State University. Within the shelter, the primary service offered is the location itself, the safe refuge. We'll triage to make sure they're in the right shelter location, provide medical assessments for those that require hospital admission or other treatment plans. We do have limited over-the-counter pharmacy medications available, limited over-the-counter medications. We can provide transportation for medical appointments, most notably like dialysis treatments. Also provide behavioral health counseling for those that in need, security, mass feeding, and finally discharge planning to ensure our residents return to a safe place. A strong reminder to educate patients to bring all medications, equipment, and assistive technology devices. We also highly, highly recommend that a caregiver presents to the shelter with the resident. We are not familiar with your patient. Our LDH nurses sometimes may not be familiar with some of their needs. It's very important that the residents have a caregiver with them. We do not have prescription medications in our shelter, and also we only have minimal medical equipment. So this includes oxygen concentrators, CPAP sleeping devices.
Can you explain to them why it's important for them to bring the original container with them?
Yeah, we like you to bring the original container so that we have the right name of the medication, the full dose, how often you're supposed to take the medication. So that's kind of important. A list that just says, I take this medication really doesn't provide our nurse with the full range of information that they may need for their particular patient. Some notes on prescription refills during a declared emergency event. A 30-day supply of medication can be dispensed during the declared state of emergency. And Louisiana Medicaid will also send notice to waive copays. This information also provides instructions for pharmacists to override pertinent rejection codes. And finally, during a declared emergency, public health may be tasked with opening an oxygen exchange program where we will swap an empty oxygen bottle for a full one for those in need. This is only during an event that medical equipment companies are unable to provide oxygen supplies to oxygen-dependent residents. We'd then like to identify those DME companies, contact them and find ways to assist them so they are able to get back to their regular supply chain. But if needed, these are the locations that we have identified within the region to do the oxygen exchange. And that's going to finish off my slides. My contact number was on one of Kim's slides there. If anybody would need to get in touch with us at Public Health, to be placed on the MNS pre-list. We'll be glad to take your name and information.
All right, next up we have from your new AVRC, Ms. Elizabeth Lacey.
Hey guys, I don't have any slides for you guys. I just wanted to introduce myself. Anything you guys need this hurricane season, again, you can reach out to me anytime, day or night. I'm happy to help. I really just wanted to make sure that you guys have those conversations with your clients about the importance of preparing this season. As you guys just heard Charles, it's very involved to get these residents into a medical needs shelter. We have very limited resources, and it can be very exhausting on these patients to have to go through that, to be evacuated, to be in a shelter. Most often, correct me if I'm wrong, Charles, but we can only have one caretaker with them. And so putting themselves in that situation is sometimes more detrimental than the actual storm itself. So just make sure that your clients are fully aware of the implications of not evacuating. And so when storms do come, even now at the beginning of the season, when we're starting to talk about hurricane prep, make sure that these clients have evacuation plans in place ahead of these storms. We understand sometimes these things happen, come up really, really fast, and, you know, they can't get out or their plans fall through. And that's why we have these plans in place to take care of those residents and those clients and those things. But if your clients have the means and are able to prepare ahead of time, you know, that cousin or that family out of state, hey, this is a really good time for you to reach out to them and make sure, hey, I can come to Houston, or I can go to Arkansas to visit you if and when a storm comes. So like I said, just the importance of having those conversations with your clients ahead of time to make sure that we push evacuation as best as possible. And then other than that, I think we have a really good plan set up in place for those, you know, that can't make it out. The team here is ready to go. And so if you guys have any questions for us, please feel free to reach out.
Mr. Jimmy, did you want to give a very quick update on the Highway 90 situation? He might not have been able to make it on. Let me see if I can find, I have his new slides.
In the
Okay, what about
meantime,
now? You got me now?
Got
Yes,
you.
we can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't have the slide up. I think y'all might have it if you want. But anyway, I'll go through and talk it. We have one major section of roadway construction on Highway 90. It's between Baldwin and LA 318. It goes down to one lane right now. They're hoping to get it open in a few months to where it's all 4 lanes again, but we're stuck with the 2-lane section. Once you cross the Baldwin Bridge, you are directed over to the eastbound lane, 1 lane for 6 miles that you'll be going on. So I've drawn alternate routes, and the DOTD is going to put alternate route signs along Highway 182 and Highway 90. You can see there on the map. And it'll show you that you can get to 182 off of several different routes before you get to the construction zone. Now, the larger 18-wheeler trucks, they have to stay on Highway 90 due to the weight constrictions at the Baldwin Bridge. But everybody else, if traffic backs up, you want to get off of Highway 90 and get on 182. Go past Baldwin, and then you can merge back into Highway 90 to continue on with your journey. I do want to say this with the recent storms that we've been having. If we get a bunch of rain ahead of time, especially in Lafayette, New Iberia, we're going to have major road flooding. We've had it already during these few little storms that we had, where roads become impassable to get through by the construction zone in Lafayette, Broussard. Highway 182 has a dip in it just past New Iberia, almost to Broussard, and that floods a lot. Before you even evacuate, that might be flooded. So you have to think about, this is important, evacuate early. If you know that storm is coming and we're pushing you to evacuate early, it behooves you to do so. Because some of these roads, if the storm passes you or starts off early in those areas and floods the roads, we could have a predicament problem. So that's all I wanted to put out, was just let everybody know that. And for St. Mary Parish residents, we have the Morgan City Fire Department and the Franklin Fire Department has oxygen bottle exchanges on hand. And I want to push out to the caregivers or whatever, if people are on O2 concentrators, maybe invest in one of those little portable battery packs that can assist you in prolonging your plug-in power that you might have in case the lights go out. Those that have worked a couple of times in instances that I've seen. Okay, that's it for Jimmy, unless anybody has questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy, and we'll end it with Miss Lori Gallagher, y'all's Home Health and Hospice DRC.
Hi, I just wanted to introduce myself, and if there's anything that I could do to help in the meantime or during the storm, then just reach out to me.
Thank you, Laura. I really appreciate you all being on today's call. I have a few questions that came to me while various presentations. First of all, I want to remind all of the hospice and home health providers on today's call, especially during hurricane season, but every visit you make should be a reassessment of that patient and family's evacuation plan. What is their plan for this hurricane season? Because things change. So each time, whether it's a nurse, the CNA, the social worker, the chaplain, or physical therapist, every visit with your clients, your patients, should involve that discussion about what is their plan? Is their plan still in place? Because things change. First of all. Second of all, it's highly recommended that during hurricane season, patients have at least a 2-week supply of medicines on them at any given time. That's the best practice. I just want to, um, and I want to remind everyone, if there is some sort of declared emergency and your patient is taken to a medical need shelter, it is the expectation, CMS has an expectation that you're going to continue to see that patient in the shelter as long as they're in the shelter. That is your responsibility, either by sending your staff to do that or by contracting with a service provider near the shelter on your behalf. You may will have to transfer that patient, or you may just contract with them directly. So it's important that you know where your patients are going. This is a question. I was really happy to see that Region 3, you're going to have 2 different medical need shelters in the parish.
No,
Is there-
no, 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 no.
Okay.
We're only gonna have
We
one.
might not have any.
We might not have any.
Okay. Okay.
But
Surgeon General.
it's definitely up to the Surgeon General, but we have 2 sites identified.
That is potential shelters.
Yes, it'll be one or the other.
And I guess my question is for those patients that do need to be evacuated, uh, how is that decision being made, and uh, how is the decision made as to whether or not the shelters will be opened in you said Thibodeau and Napoleonville, I think, or you were going to send patients up to Baton Rouge or Alexandria, correct?
Yes, sir. We generally consider ourselves like an evacuating region because
Right.
we're generally the place where hurricanes hit.
Yes.
So with that said, we don't envision shelter opening in our region necessarily. It
So
could
that's
happen
what-
that the decision's much above our heads at the Surgeon General level, Secretary of Department of Health level, and so on.
It's
So
also a pre-storm, post-storm kind of thing. Pre-storm, we're sending people out. We're gonna be sending to the mass shelter in Alexandria for special needs. Post-storm, when things are kind of, on the fritz, not sure where people are going, we may be able to send back to a home region, provided the Surgeon General opens up a special needs shelter.
I see. So that's really important that providers, home health and hospice providers, you need to let your patients know if they're depending upon the parish or the state to provide transportation to a medical need shelter, that medical need shelter is going to be up in Alexandria.
Alexandria, yes,
Most
sir.
likely. So they need, and the patients and families need to know that it's not going to be near, it's going to be up in that mega shelter, and that mega shelter, there's not a whole lot of privacy. There's not a whole lot of convenience. It's a place of refuge. It's not a place that they would want to spend a whole lot of time, but they will be in that shelter until the parish or the state can move them closer in to back home. And that may not be back home for I remember, I think it was during Ida, the special needs shelter stayed open for like 6 or 8 weeks after the storm. So, patients wanted to get out of there, but it wasn't safe to get them out. And so if they want a lot more freedom, they need to make plans with family members or members of their church or members in their Mardi Gras crew or their social clubs. That if somebody else will help them with their evacuation plans other than the parish, they'll be in a lot better situation.
And just to say it in another way, Jamie,
Yes, sir.
we have not opened one of the medical needs shelter sites in Region 3 since 2008.
Well, right. Okay. And that would be more of a post-storm opening than it would be a pre-storm opening if it's going to happen at all. Correct?
Or if there was something hitting the other side of the state and all the shelters were full.
And they needed to move folks from the other part of the state to Region 3.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
correct. If we just so happen to be in the receiving end of it.
You
yes.
could be, yes, you could be. Yeah. Okay. I had one other question because this question keeps popping up in every region, and that is, what about how do we handle, especially on the hospice side, those patients? The storm is, 48 hours out and a patient starts to go into what we call active dying. We anticipate that they will expire within a 72-hour period, and the storm it will be during the storm. How should especially hospice providers
We're gonna
handle
let
this?
Lori go ahead and tackle that question. She's the expert there on that one.
Mhm.
So I guess in that case, we would just get a doctor's order and see about moving them to a hospital that would take them is the only option that I see. Because I mean, they could not withstand going to a medical needs shelter.
Yeah, and in those events, that's where Lori and my team would work very closely together, reach out to our hospital contacts and say, hey, look, we have this one-off situation, or we have this situation that we're walking into ahead of the storm. This is the order that we have, and where can we place? We, on the hospital side of things, we try to discharge ahead of storms so that we can create that surge capacity. And in those moments where we have, a situation like this where someone's actively dying, but we need an evacuation plan, of course, all of our hospitals in this region are very kind and caring administrators. Are definitely going to, take that into consideration, and, we'll do right by the families, of course. But again, that's where Lori and I are going to work together and, make those phone calls to take care of the clients.
Right. And Lori, other regions of the state have worked out plans like the medical director for the hospice of that patient, wherever that medical director has privileges, that's the hospital that the patient is usually being admitted to, because the physician has privileges at that particular hospice. So that may be something that you would want to consider in terms of planning, is to make sure that the medical director for that hospice is the one who will be admitting the patient to a hospital that they have privileges to. And they put them in under the respite benefit, and there is now, I think it's the respite benefit pays about $300 a day for that custodial care in the hospital while they're there.
Correct.
So-
So yeah, we definitely could utilize that level of care at
Right.
that time.
Right. One other question that has also come up is, what happens when a patient is at home, and I mean, maybe there's not an evacuation order called for Region 3, but in the course of the storm or in the immediate aftermath of the storm, the patient dies. Are there any special protocols in Region 3 for handling those deaths?
It's not a declared emergency.
Outside of a declared emergency or inside a declared emergency?
Well, let me ask you this. If we have a category 1 storm coming in, but it's coming in right at Region 3, is that a declared emergency?
Not
Not
necessarily.
necessarily, no.
Not necessarily. Okay.
It could be
Okay.
a 3 coming in at a crazy angle, and it may not necessarily. It's really going to depend on a lot of the rainfall totals that are going to be in that. Because like wind is one thing, rainfall is another. It
Yeah,
could.
and flood, and then
Right.
flood, and then tidal
Parish
floods. Yeah,
evacuations,
and the
yeah.
flooding. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, if we
well,
don't have a declared emergency event, then it's operations as normal.
as normal.
Um,
Okay.
As normal,
So,
yes. If it's a
so-
declared event, then we have
Yeah.
protocols in place, yes.
So you would want the hospice to notify the coroner in that parish, and they would
Absolutely.
release the body to the funeral, to whatever funeral home the patient, the family has chosen.
Absolutely.
If there's a declared emergency and all, is there going to be is there one person who's going to be handling particular deaths in Region 3? Is there anyone?
Yes, we have the Mass Fatality DRC. He is the coroner in Terrebonne Parish. He kind of is our overseer. And then of course, Mr. RB Doings is always our like DRC, statewide DRC. Like during Ida, we did have a situation. It did present that we needed additional training on mass fatalities. And look, even though this happened for Ida and we identified it for Ida, we begged for more mass fatality training on what to do in these situations. We just got it, and it's now in
October.
December, yeah,
in
December. But all of our coroners will be there, you know, if there's something you're interested in. I know it's not anybody's favorites, especially when I was the hospital DRC. I would say that's not our job. Our job is to keep people alive. We don't do mass fatalities, but it does become everybody's job, especially in a storm situation. It gets a little
Exactly.
muddy. So
Right.
we are, and that is again open to anybody, but we do encourage everybody who has been through that type of situation to come to that training to get to know your coroners, and we will have the Coroner DRC network at that training as well.
That's going to be,
December 2nd?
okay, so that's going to be after this hurricane season then.
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Mhm.
Okay, so is there policies or protocols or some sort of document that especially hospices, since they're going to be the ones dealing with those particular deaths that we're talking about, that I'm talking about right now, is there something that you can send me that we could distribute to hospices in Region 3 with regards to?
I don't know that it's something it's on a shareable situation as of yet. I would want to like we do have a mass fatality plan. We do have identified space in every region, including St. Mary, on where we would put remains where, you know, things were happening and then where we would move them to next. Liz will check and see because it falls under LDH, so she will check and see if it's a shareable policy. I mean, it's something, of course, you can, you know, see at the next DRC meeting, and of course, they can discuss it at the next HCC meeting. But when it gets to like crisis standards of care and mass fatalities, they get very lawyer heavy.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And that's why I was asking to see if there was anything in particular that we want to advise people of right, now before we even get into the peak of hurricane season. Okay, those are the questions that I had marked down. How about providers who are on today's call? Do you have any questions of
And
emergency managers or your contacts? Anything you're nervous about aside from the hurricane season in general?
sorry about that. I think we lost you there for a second. But yeah, so we may not be able to share it, but it'll definitely be accessible.
Okay.
Reviewable.
Reviewable, yes.
Viewable. Yes, ma'am. Providers, home health, hospice providers on today's call? Questions that you might have about anything you've heard today? Okay, well, I do want to remind providers that in the event of some sort of emergency declaration where patients are being moved to a shelter, um, it is important that you know where your patients are going so that you can continue the continuity of service to that patient. As long as you're being paid, CMS has an expectation that you're going to follow up with those patients. Remember, the folks that are manning the shelters don't know the ins and outs of your particular patients, why they're on home health or why they're on hospice. So it's important that you start planning now to provide that sort of support inside of the shelter. Who's going to do that? Either your staff, or are you going to, or do you need to get a contract with a hospice up in Region 6 or a home health up in Region 6 if you don't have a branch up there that can assume that sort of care? Anyone have any questions about that? Because CMS constantly is making that, is constantly reminding me of your obligations, even in declared emergencies, to make sure that you're attending to your patients. Well, if we have no, yes, ma'am. Does anyone
Thank you,
have,
Jamie.
yeah, does anyone have any other comments before we close up today's session?
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for the service that you all are providing to ensure greater patient safety this hurricane season. We're gonna hope for the best. We're gonna plan for the worst case scenario, and we're going to hope for the best this hurricane season. If there are no other questions, I want to thank everybody for your attention today. I will be taking all of the slides. I'll take all the slides. I will finish transferring this recording to YouTube and putting a link there so that you can use this as an in-service for your entire staff to understand the systems that are now in place in Region 3 for this hurricane season. Okay, so thank you all and good luck. Stay safe.